what if Spear just bought the bottom? Let me explain. When they bought that building from Blackstone, they bought it at about $300 a square foot. The price per square foot to build one of those buildings is between $600 to $1,200 a square foot. That doesn't include the land. So they bought it below replacement cost. They got a great deal.
Yeah.
So when you say, are we near the bottom? We might be there. So my brain just goes back to, when have I seen this pattern before? What's the data shown us in history? If any of our listeners were alive during the great financial crisis, you're going to remember a time in 2008, 9, and 10, so 2008 to 2012. There was real estate that sold all over the Seattle metro that sold below replacement cost. I told people, during that time, this is below replacement cost. This is a good deal. And they would look at me and eyes would glaze over and they'd be like, what? I'm afraid. And I'm like, when everyone's afraid and it's below replacement cost, you can't go wrong. That's the bottom. That's the absolute bottom. Now, with Seattle specifically, don't know how quickly it will rebound, but when you're buying at replacement cost, you can't go wrong. The problem with you or I or the average listener buying a skyscraper is we would get eaten alive in holding costs and maintenance costs. But that applies to any piece of real estate. This is a weird version of buying during the great financial crisis happening all over again. So honestly, they got a good buy. And you should be looking for good buys when things don't feel perfect, when the market is slightly beat up.
With all that being said, and yeah, it was doom and gloom, responsibility has to be taken by the leadership. So I think it's time to start talking about who's leading Seattle right now.
Man, this is the political layer. This is the taxes stacked on top of each other there in Seattle. I do want to be a little bit fair, though, to Katie Wilson. These budget problems started before her as mayor. Everyone gets all into their political rhetoric and they start pointing fingers and say it's all Katie's fault. Part of this is, absolutely. But this problem started before her, and she is reaping the benefit of bad practices that have been going on for years, I would argue decades. But let's just call it what it is. Katie Wilson came out of the Transit Riders Union, and she describes herself as a democratic socialist. So what did she immediately do? She said, you know what? Let's raise the Seattle Transit tax. Let's double it because that could give us $138 million. And then you look over at Sound Transit. Sound Transit is currently just on ST3, $34.5 billion overrun. That's approximately $10,000 a person for everyone in the taxing district. By the way, Sound Transit approved themselves, this happened way back in 2016, that they can increase your property taxes without a public vote. They are going to be coming for more of your property tax dollars. I'm telling you now, I'm warning you now. I know property taxes are expensive. And when I'm talking about Sound Transit, this covers a big chunk of the metro unless you're outside of that. Okay, so, the only way to get to that is to get to a rural area. We've got our high earner tax, we've got our B&O dynamics, and the income tax is not settled. We've got massive sales tax, we've got the Jumpstart payroll tax. We talked about the regional Sound Transit. So what's happening there in Seattle is you've got tax on tax on tax on tax on tax. Some of these taxes, depending on your income bracket, could add up to additional 19%. Which is just insane. And the problem is like investors, when they're putting together a business model, they have to be able to underwrite. We got to be able to underwrite risk. We got to be able to underwrite expenses, taxes. You can't underwrite a risk premium with this many unknowns when this many things are not settled. And so Blackstone says, I'm just pulling out. And you've got Katie Wilson being openly hostile towards high income earners and towards businesses. You've got, very dismissive rhetoric that we mentioned, where basically she was asked, and I forget if that was Seattle U she was talking at, do you think that capital is leaving, that capital flight is real? She was dismissive, and she said, no, I don't believe that's happening, and if it is, then bye. That was her viral moment. Gets called out by everyone, every major news media. A politician with more training would have known not to say that live on television. It just, or excuse me, that wasn't live on television, but it was recorded. They would know not to say that recorded. And then what was funny is even like King 5 and Como were trying to get her to answer questions about it. And she was avoiding that. Hey, that's not what we're talking about here, because she just didn't know what to do. She's been targeting Seattle businesses and residents as the filthy rich because she believes they're easy targets. She's talking about raising taxes. Starbucks shifted their headquarters to Tennessee. And then Schultz left us, wrote a scorching editorial in the Wall Street Journal, basically blasting her with her social rhetoric. What's interesting too about like this very hard progressive ideology is that a lot of it is untested and uneconomically tested. And so what you're seeing with Katie Wilson is you're seeing ideology come head to head with economic realities, and it's not working. And so these deficits are going to get bigger. She even called for a boycott of Starbucks itself. She was there with the baristas and said, I'm not buying Starbucks and you should not either. You can't say to a Seattle icon, don't spend money at this business. That's insanity. She's had major opposition to the CCTV, being really criticized against that right ahead of FIFA.